Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to Truth, Wisdom, Freedom Conversations and welcome. I am very excited to be here with Hillis, who is an intuitive consultant. He's based actually in Florida. And so we have a massive time difference from Sydney to Florida here. And he is the author of a book called Awaken with Gratitude. And I connected with Hillis virtually, digitally, as we all have been meeting various people around the world in new and different ways. And we were talking about gratitude and the importance of gratitude and why it's very necessary at this time. And then we were also getting to know each other a little bit about our lives. And, we share some things in common, and we also share very similar belief systems, spiritual belief systems. And for myself, especially being a gay Asian American man, and Hillis being a gay African American man, we have similar experiences in being the minority of a minority, right? And so and from a very earthly perspective in the squabbles and the trivialness of the drama and the trauma of facing rejection and going through periods of anger and loss and grief. There's definitely a commonality here that we can relate to energetically. And then the journey of moving beyond that and stepping into a higher perspective has been really nice to connect to Hillis about. And one of the key things is using gratitude as a tool for that. So I wanted to talk about gratitude and about using gratitude as a way to shift ourselves on all dimensions, mentally, physically, emotionally, energetically. So yeah, Hillis, I'm going to pass it over to you, and maybe you can share a little bit about your journey that you were telling me about on a personal level, and how you went into the path that you're currently on with helping other clients become more grateful.
Hi, Johnson. Thank you so much for having me on today. It's much appreciated, especially in the time difference. But a little bit about my personal journey, about how I arrived here where I'm at presently. And so my journey has been a culmination of my entire life, basically, to really understand the energy of gratitude. And it started out when I was 20 years old, having a desire to leave home. And of course, having parents that don't want you to leave, but in order to grow, you have to allow the courage to expand. And this courage enabled me to live a life of independence. And this independence really helped me to see the world in a different way, in a different light, as African American first, because that's what I'm seen as. This is what people see. And then when they get to know me, they get to understand my personality, my uh, preferences as a being gay, and all these other things that come along with that. And so it really hit home for me when I was in 2008, when the recession hit in the States. Lost my business. I had a thriving small business, where I was a marketing individual and graphic designer for small businesses. And so at that time, what I did was considered a luxury. And advertising and marketing and getting the name out there, that's one of the first things to go. And with that understanding, I was like, okay, now I have to shift. I have to understand what is it that I'm going to have to do. And being independent and not relying much on anyone, you always find a way to get something done. You always find a way to really, accomplish whatever it is that you have to accomplish. Yet at this time, things were not the best. And so I had to find the courage to live up to my own expectation of being independent. And that meant asking for help, having the courage to ask for help. And that was a challenge in itself. because no, I wasn't ready to admit I needed help, you know? And so with me having the courage to ask for help from friends and from family, it was so appropriate that the Thanksgiving of 2008, it really hit home because that's when I started my journey of gratitude of really offering and expressing my thanks to my friends and to my family for helping me, for seeing me and understanding me and really getting to the root of who I am. And that helped me to see that gratitude is more than just saying please or saying thank you, or those little nuances. It's about a deeper appreciation for the things that you have experienced, a deeper appreciation for knowing that you can do it, that you can get through it, that you have made it.
Yeah, and I also think I love that you said that. And it's also on the flip side that gratitude signals to us that we can do it. On the flip side, it also shows appreciation to those around us, and it strengthens our bonds and our relationships. And there's a gratitude researcher named Robert Emmons, and he researches gratitude and how the the bonds between friends and family and colleagues becomes strengthened through gratitude. And so he studies social relationships. Harvard has done a whole grant study around gratitude and how gratitude is the number one predictor for health and for the happiness that a person experiences in their life. And there's so much actual science around the biochemistry of serotonin and dopamine being secreted from the brain when we experience gratitude, because serotonin is our natural antidepressant, and it enhances our mood, our happiness levels. And sometimes even if we're not feeling happy, right, or we're not feeling particularly grateful, because I mean if you look at the state of the world and you get sucked into the media of what that is, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it can be difficult to find the silver lining in all of that. However, if we can somehow flip it and find it, I mean, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack, but it's there. And when you do find it, something biochemically shifts, and then something energetically, emotionally shifts. And I think that's a very important thing to remember for people. And I think especially, coming from someone like you as a African American gay healer, I would put you in this category of healer or intuitive consultant. It doesn't matter, all these
Yeah,
labels.
it's all the same.
It's all the same. But you're standing as a role model for other people who are in a vibration of anger, or they're in a right. We were talking a little bit about this. Maybe you can talk a little bit about how do we shift from a place of I'm really angry at the world and how things are to a place of gratitude. How do you go from that to gratitude?
You know, that's a really good question, and this is a common question with most of my clients, especially not only when I do energy work, but also when I do seminars and teach about this, because I'm not sure how popular the term is where you are, spiritual bypassing. And so, in essence, what it is, we want to get from there to there without doing all the work and filling everything. But it's impossible. I mean, you have to feel it. I mean, it's one of the stages of grief because right now the whole world is in a state of grief because we have lost something, right? We've lost our, well, let me rephrase this. We sense or feel that we have the appearance of loss, right? And so this appearance of loss comes through as a loss of control, of loss of freedom, a loss of our rights, a loss of all these things that we feel that are important to us. So this appearance of loss triggers this grief. And so the first stage of grief is this anger and denial that no, I'm not losing anything. I'm this really privileged individual. My life hasn't changed. So you go through all these stages and everything. And so you have to allow yourself to feel. You have to allow yourself to feel this lower vibrating energy, this anger, this grief, this loss, all of it. You have to allow yourself to feel it. Because if you don't feel it, then there's no way to go up the ladder. And if you do, you instead of climbing the ladder per se, you throw a rope up and you bypass all the runs, all the emotional stages of this ladder that you have to feel, that you have to get through, and then you just there at the top, and then you're just there, and you're wondering, how did I get here? And as opposed to like, oh wow, I really have a deeper appreciation because I allowed myself to feel what it is that I felt, as opposed to like, I'm just gonna go. You know, it's like you show up at a party and you don't engage with anyone. You just show up and then you leave. How can you show up at a party and not engage, right?
Right. Yeah. So, what would you say then to people who are experiencing, let's say they're stuck in this level of anger, but then it gets channeled into a way that's violent, let's say, and it's harmful to other people, right? So there's definitely that. I mean, we see that happening in America with all of the looting and the riots and the lashing out, right? So then how do we feel something and honor the anger, but then make sure that it's not harmful? So that's a fine line.
Yeah. And so when we have this high, intense feeling of anger, of hatred, and that's what it really is. It's this hatred because that's what the intensity of anger is. This high level of hatred. So when we have that, how do we redirect it? We have to allow ourselves to feel that hate, feel that anger, and channel that into something a bit more creative, such as writing. And it's an exercise that I actually have my clients do when I do energy work, is have them write letters to people they felt who have wronged them and felt that they're angry at. So, if I was on stage right now, I'd probably tell the whole world, write a letter to the world and let them know how you feel, and as opposed to demonstrating this anger in such a way that it can be catastrophic and harmful not only to yourself but to others. Because when we express this high level of anger, it really allows for us to process it. But how are we processing it? And sometimes, if a letter isn't good enough to express it, then go in your room, close your door, scream, beat on your bed, do some push-ups, whatever it is you need to do physically to move that energy, because sometimes that's what it takes. You have to physically move the body, because since the anger is a denser energy, you have to match it with a denser action, such as being physical.
Yeah, I love that you said that about the letters because I do that as well, and it's really for people to connect inwards into relating to the anger and how it needs to and what it's really about and uncovering what it is. And when people clarify where it's coming from and and then they can heal that part of themselves that is angry, right? Then the anger dissipates, right? It all it takes is acknowledging it and then speaking to it and allowing it to speak through you in the form of a letter, or if it's and that's such great practice, right? So then you get to practice that, right? That expression of whatever that anger is, it with yourself or in a group or in a community, right? And then if you still feel that way after you've done that in real life and you feel like, oh, I need to talk to mom or dad or or whatever, whoever it is that you were going to direct that anger towards, you then get to question yourself, is that true? Does that still stand true? And if it doesn't, then it's like, oh wow, okay, something shifted. And that's such a great point about the physical release of anger. That's why yoga is so popular, and doing your push-ups and working out. That again changes something biochemically and physically within us. And these are things that are so, seemingly simple, but people need to be reminded that, we need to simply acknowledge what is happening in our human experience, and we need to honor it and to take
Yeah.
action appropriately. Um,
Yes, and just want to mention too that when we feel that anger, that hatred, those lower, denser, vibrating energies, they're just symptoms of the root cause of the energy that was there in the beginning. So the energy that was already there is amplified
Mm,
by this anger. So whatever the seed was, it grew into this. So you have to understand that whatever the root cause was, it is already there and it was already being fueled and now it's like combusted, now it's like, okay, what do I do with it now?
yeah. Yeah, it's just energy passing through. It's like a storm. And a storm isn't necessarily bad. And I think a lot of people demonize anger or lower vibrational energetic states. But without anger, you cannot be, you cannot motivate a shift in a system like we are experiencing around the world. We have to be very um, upset with how things are, and that's a level of anger to then make a shift. And then of course there's very harmful ways of using anger to make shifts, right? Like starting wars and uh, violence on the streets, right? Vigilantes everywhere doing whatever they want. Or we can channel that anger in very healthy ways, right? So there's ways to move very raw, potent energy, and that's really what anger is. It's just this massive storm. So do we build dams up and kind of channel it so that we keep the rivers from overflowing into our cities, or do we just kind of let the storm run rampant and destroy everything in sight? And it's really about like what you said, redirection. How do we redirect all of this energy? So yeah, this brings me to the next thing, about using. So how does gratitude then help us shift this energy in a more redirected way? You were talking a lot about using gratitude to nourish, our physical, our mental, our emotional. So how does this look like? How does this play out? Because we can say all this conceptual stuff about gratitude, but how does it actually from point A to point B to point C? What does it look like in someone's life? Maybe sharing from your own life examples might be helpful.
Sure. So one of the first things is that, as we talked about previously, is moving the energy, being physical with it. And I just wanted to express that gratitude is the step below the energy of appreciation, the energy of love. And I'm going to express and explain how we get to that in a moment. And so that way you can understand the vibrational difference in that. And so when we are in this space of appreciation, or we're in the space of gratitude, we really pause because that's what it is. Gratitude gives us moments to pause. And for me personally, it was when I just get chills thinking about this. It's when my aunt passed about 5 years ago. And part of me was relieved because she was sick for quite a long time. And it really brought me joy to see her not suffer anymore. However, on the flip side of that, to see my mom lose her sister, they were best friends, and to see her going through this grieving process, to really witness that, she just needed her sister. And so 3 months after my aunt passed, my mom passed. And that was unexpected. That it hit me very hard in very unexpected ways. But what gave me uh, joy was that it was my mom's 60th birthday, and we were planning for her to come visit me in New York. Got her Airbnb, got her ticket, planning everything. And next thing I know, I get a call from my cousin who's like, "Your mom isn't doing well. I think you need to come to Chicago." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Just talk to her." And so, long story short, the conversation that my mom and I had before she got sick was that she was understanding where I was spiritually. She was getting where I was, and she was meeting me on this level. So me being an example for her, but so much gratitude to me to know that I am living my life being an example for others and that she honored and respected that to where it was like one sentence that she spoke to me, and I knew that she got it. And this is how we move from the space of from gratitude is being accepting of where we are, accepting our own energy, accepting other people's energies where they are, to moving into a place of appreciation because we understood where we were in that moment, in that spatial energy to get it, and where and what we have come through to arrive into appreciation of self. And that's the full extension, the full expansion of self love and being this grand example, this being of light, this beacon for other people to know that no matter where they are, no matter what they are doing, no matter what they are experiencing, that they are not alone on their path, they are not alone on their journey, that there are others just like them that are doing this and that have lived through this. So that's how you move through that by being in the space of acceptance and holding space for yourself.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's really touching. I mean, you've been through so much, uh, like loss, what it appears to be loss of life, loss of, of business, loss of, transitions of moving from, different homes and separation, right? And we all can relate or find ways in our own lives where there is a transition from one state of being to another state of being. And, kind of like what you were saying, the transition of life, from this body to the next realm, whatever that is a very clear transition. Or, transitioning from a certain role in a job to not having a job. That's another transition. And what seems to be really key across the board is that there needs to be a period of grief and acknowledging it and not ignoring it or denying that it's there, and then accepting it and moving through it, and that brings you to the other side. And then it seems like like in retrospect, then you can look back and be grateful on it, right? It's always looking back,
Yeah,
reflecting on the beauty of what was, that we can then find appreciation in the present moment of what we now have, and then we can be grateful for what has passed. And then, so you were saying
exactly.
appreciation is a higher vibration of gratitude. It's the upgrade of gratitude, and I can see that.
Exactly. Because when we are in it, and I mean when we are really in it, it's ugly. It hurts, and people don't want to experience that anymore. Especially those who have been beat up through life. But we have to also understand that we have in an intuitive level on the and we can this is a whole topic for another show, but in how we choose to incarnate on this planet. We have these life choices. We have these decisions that we've chosen to have to really allow our soul to expand. We have all these key players, our soul family, whether it's in physical form, energetic form, whatever form they take on. It is really the synergy of these moments to really allow for the ugliness, to allow for the hurt, to allow for the pain, to allow for all of that to really sit in it. And it's okay to sit and wallow, but just don't stay there. Don't live in it.
Right. Yeah. No, I like that for sure. What kind of advice would you give to a leader right now? Someone who is a mindful leader who has, let's say, people who are, ooh, I'm sorry about that. Someone who has, let's say, a team or people they're responsible for, and they're feeling it right now. And like, oh, I just want to stay in bed. I don't want to get up and do anything. Um, how do we lead from a more conscious place? This is not my computer, so I don't know how to turn off these sounds. I'm sorry. Um,
No, it's fine. So what I would say, because right now on the planet, everyone is in a state of doing, is in a state of being action oriented. Like I have to connect to these people, I have to be on all these calls, I have to, get my message out there, I have to do this, I have to do this, like all these have tos, instead of simply being and simply creating. And so what I say to people is just allow yourself to be, allow yourself to have that room to appreciate your team and all the things that they are doing, to have room to be and room to create. And for those who are in political power, just listen to the people, because this is what they want. People just want to be heard. Doesn't matter what level you are, you just want everything to just simply be, and want everything to simply uh, allow for the newness to emerge. And that, in essence, is what it truly is to simply be, and allow and to accept people where they are. And if someone wants to stay in bed who's on your team, let them stay in bed. Talk to them. Maybe they feel overwhelmed by all the sense of the energies and the shifts that are happening, because the shifts that are happening on the planet are not just on a physical 3D level. It's also higher up with these higher energies, with the eclipses and the portals that are opening. And coming up is the summer solstice. So you have all this energy that's moving and shifting and shaking everything up. We're just along for the ride.
Hmm. Yeah. No, for sure. And it was interesting. I was reading before our talk about a study, a research study by Forbes, and that 87% of these companies that have these reward programs to basically incentivize their employees to perform better are all tenure based, right? And so they're not recognizing people from a gratitude point of view. And
Wow.
that these recognition programs are they don't actually show any sort of improvement in performance because it's not real, right? And then
Right.
there was a there was another institute. It's the Great Place to Work Institute that shows that the companies that actually show unexpected gratitude frequently on a very personal, real level, those are the companies that have the highest employee retention rates because people want to feel valued. They want to feel adored and held and nurtured, and that's really important to remember. And we have to start with ourselves first. So, like you said, if you want to,
Yes.
if someone wants to sit in bed for a little bit, let that happen. There's a period of grieving that needs to happen, and then we move on. Someone on your team is experiencing that same thing. um, if you're all feeling it, maybe you go out on a little outing together, or for now, I guess just a Zoom virtual outing, and do something about
Yeah.
it so that people can be heard and be met where they are. Yeah.
And someone wants to be heard right now. Excuse me just for 1 second.
So, yeah.
Sorry, I just had to get my little one. She was wanting
Oh,
me, and so this is a rarity that she pops in. But yes, that is very important. Come on, relax. It's very important that everyone, and that's one of the things that I teach, is that we all want to, that we all want to be validated, like her. Okay, okay, all right.
yeah.
That we all desire validation at some level, that we all want to be recognized for who we are and what we do.
Beautiful. Yes. Well, I think it's about that time. Is there anything else that I know we can talk on and on about gratitude? But is there anything else that you would like to say before we bring it to a close?
Yes, definitely. Just want to let everyone know that regardless of where you are, regardless of what you are feeling, that you are important, that you are valued for who you are, and stay in the energy that you're in. Allow yourself to feel what you're feeling. Allow yourself to nurture that feeling. And that's the only way that it will allow itself to be released is through the process of accepting yourself and loving yourself wherever you are. Doesn't matter how heavy it gets or how ugly it gets or how much it hurts. Know that on the other side is something so much better.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your insight and your wisdom, Hillis. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. And if you want to connect to Hillis, you can find him on Facebook. He also has a website, Hillis Pugh, um, and HillisPugh. So, is that how you say your last name? Did I say it
Yes,
right?
yes,
um, .com. And yeah, stay connected and reach out if anything. And yes, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into Truth, Wisdom, Freedom Conversations. Until next time, be grateful.
yes. Be grateful, everyone.
Yeah. All right, bye now.
Take care.